Yes, it is. And 420 should not be looked at as just a day to just get high on weed or whatever. But if that floats your boat, that's cool too. But 420 can actually act to highlight the benefits of cannabis, right? So, cannabis is obviously the active plant that you also call weed, right? And there has been a lot of changes to the legalization of uh, cannabis use, weed use, marijuana use on health and in recreation. There are a lot of states that still have not made it legal, to partake in it in the streets and things like that. But I'm sure that's going to change very shortly. But what I want to talk to you about 420 today is mainly the health benefits of 420. Now, I have some notes here, and I had my own experience recently. Well, it was a couple of years ago, and it was the first time that I used it. Now, I didn't use it for chronic pain, but it did alleviate stress. And, and I want to talk about the different ways you can take it. You don't always have to smoke it. In fact, I don't think maybe that's the healthiest way. I think it's the quickest way to get the effects, even through physical pain relief. But there are other ways to take it. Did you even know that you can eat the cannabis plant? Yes. You can blend it up, you can put it in a smoothie, and it has very similar effects. So, one of the things I will talk about right now is what cannabis can heal is chronic pain. I think even if you don't know anything about weed or you've never smoked it, I'm sure you've heard that a lot of people that are told by the doctors there's nothing we can do and this is a chronic pain condition that you have that they'll prescribe you marijuana, prescribe you cannabis to ease the pain. So it is really good for that. There was a 2017 report on this very thing by the National Academies of Sciences, and they found cannabis to be effective in managing chronic pain, especially nerve pain and pain from conditions like arthritis. Now, that's the most common use. Okay. Now, if you have this, you may want to go to your local state or whatever and see if it's available to you, if it's legalized, or what you would need to get that. But you can do that in a lot of states. I believe California is one, and New York City is another, Colorado, where it's actually legal. And I'm not even sure, I don't even think you need a medical card anymore. There's been so many quick leaps and bounds, you know, for you know, people using marijuana recreationally and medically. It's not like a big stumbling block as it used to be for a lot of people trying to get access. And then always people just having to get it illegally, you know. So it also helps muscular sclerosis, MS. So if you have MS or you know somebody with MS, cannabis can reduce muscle spasms and pain in people with MS. Also, some oral cannabis extracts and even approved for use in parts are even approved for use in parts of Europe and Canada. See, so there's still some restrictions around it, even though we've come a long way in the legalization of it and the decriminalization of a plant, cannabis. Strange, huh? It also helps with epilepsy and seizures. Now, CBD, which is a non psychoactive compound in cannabis, has been used a lot. And you'll see a lot of pop up shops, you know, selling CBD. Now, that's not illegal. And I think for the most part, it won't show up in a drug test. So if you have a job where you feel like you can't do it and you get drug tested regularly, CBD for the most part, and do your own research, don't quote me, but it will not be flagged as like, an illegal drug that is in your system. Okay. Now, the CBD, what it also helps with is the seizures. Like I was saying, it's a compound found in cannabis, and it has been approved by the FDA, as I was telling you, for treating certain and rare severe forms of epilepsy, like Dravet syndrome and Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. Okay. And one of the most popular things, if you haven't heard this by now, is that cannabis is said to cure cancer, right? So it is used for a lot of cancer related symptoms. Okay. That's what the internet wants to say. So, but you can check out some documentaries and see that a lot of people have claimed that their cancer was cured by taking cannabis in specific ways, some and different cancers as well. Like one study I remember was a little girl, I think it's called something's web, but it's a specific type of black oil that is made out of boiling down cannabis. So it's like a black oil. And she took that and it eliminated her cancer. Okay. But sticking with the internet's version, it controls nausea, it controls vomiting. So that's amazing if you ever go through that at any time in your life. And associated with chemotherapy. So that's the cancer related symptoms that it's referring to. So, and it may help improve appetite and sleep for cancer patients. Now, that's great. If you're suffering, it can relieve your suffering, okay? And HIV, AIDS related weight loss. Cannabis can stimulate appetite and help people with HIV/AIDS maintain a healthy weight, which is crucial for their overall health. Now, there are so many other benefits to cannabis, and I would say if you're from the old school and you think, oh, weed is bad and you're part of that mind condition and propaganda, I would say think again and open yourself up to some new information, a new way to think about this plant. And it is extremely helpful, as you can see. And if you have access to it, you really should try it out for yourself. Now, I did allude to an experience that I had a couple years ago. Now, I was one of the people that grew up in the era of it's criminal act, it's a criminal bad thing to consume or to smoke weed. Now, it took me several years, obviously, to get that out of my system. And once it was legalized, I went to a state that was legalized and used it there and got some there. And also, after that, shortly, I got some from someone that grows it in their house, and they gave it to a friend of mine, and he gave it to me. So I feel like they were pretty trustworthy sources that I got it from. Nowadays I hear now that it's a legalized thing, sometimes these crops are GMO, and we're not sure what they're putting in them. So make sure whatever source you get it from, that it's a good source. Okay. But my story is, yeah, I just smoked it. I just decided to. I just wanted to know more about it, not because of weed. And I looked at people that were on weed and said, yeah, I want to do that. It was, I never really did based on the imagery that I saw, right? Online and stuff like that, and even people around me. But it was when I started getting more into the raw vegan and the more natural stuff, then I stumbled upon like a documentary about how cannabis cured cancer. So that directly fought against the knowledge that I thought I had, which was only people that are lazy, smoke weed, or criminals, or whatever propaganda the government and you know TV industry were propping out in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, early, something like that. Only rappers used it, whatever type of surface crap. I just took it and just swiped like, it's not for me. But when I saw that it had medicinal purposes, I feel like it was too good to not share and to not re-educate myself first and see, is this really true? And it really, really does seem to be. Now, there was a whole movement about criminalizing natural alternatives. I do have a short about that, and you can check my shorts, my YouTube shorts, also my Instagram on Raw Vegan's Diet, where I believe it was Rockefeller. Yeah, Rockefeller commissioned a doctor named Flexner to go around in different countries and see what the standard was for medicine. And the alternative medical places, he deemed those dangerous. And why, you ask, would Rockefeller do such a report or a study? And that is because he is directly linked to not just modern medicine and allopathy focused medicine, but he's into pharmaceuticals. So how perfect to criminalize and or put down alternative medicine if you want to provide another answer. That's just like easy marketing, easy sales right there. So put down the naturalists and call them quacks or whatever, history shows, do your research. And now you have this addictive, straight line form to the medical industries, hospitals, procedures, hacking things off, you know, sticking it, sticking on prescriptions never with no end in sight. So it's a lot behind this 420. So before you just flag it off as something that is just for people that just like to wake and shake and bake or whatever the case is, wake and bake, just think of it more from a health point of view. And somebody or maybe even yourself, can be helped by cannabis use. And I hope this was enlightening for you. I hope this is information that even if you knew it, that it gives you a refresher and that maybe you could pass this on to someone else that you know that it will help. So thanks for listening, and I will see you again with a very important video that will increase your optimal health. Blessings.